The city hummed with its usual evening symphony of honking horns and distant sirens as I cracked open a cold can of Coke. Exhaustion hung heavy on my shoulders, and all I wanted was to melt into the worn-out comfort of my couch. My gaze drifted towards the window, seeking solace in the familiar scene below. Cars glided down the quiet street, their headlights carving fleeting streaks of light through the gathering dusk. Then I saw her. An old woman, hunched over in a rusty wheelchair, propelled herself slowly down the sidewalk. Her back was to me, but a sense of unease prickled at the base of my neck. There was something unsettling about her, a stillness that felt unnatural in the symphony of the city. I'd watched her as she turned the corner, disappearing from view. For most of the night, the unsettling image of the woman lingered in my mind. But eventually, fatigue won, and I drifted off to sleep. A pounding on my door shattered the tranquility of my morning. With a groan, I shuffled towards it, irritation bubbling up within me. Who would be calling so early on a Saturday? Through the peephole, I saw Mr. Henderson, a neighbor known for his meticulous lawn and overly cheerful demeanor. Mr. Evans. He greeted me, his voice strained. Had you heard? The Andersons. He faltered, his face pale. They found them both dead this morning. My stomach lurched. The Andersons were a lovely couple who always kept to themselves. News of their demise hit me like a cold wave. Oh my God, I stammered, stepping aside to let him in. Mr. Henderson sank onto the couch, his face etched with worry. The police wouldn't say much, but apparently, their faces. He choked back a sob. The report said it looked like something mauled them. The disquiet I had felt the previous night morphed into full-blown dread. Could it be a coincidence? Days blurred into a haze of unease. The news buzzed with reports of the Andersons' gruesome murder. A rumor about an old woman in a wheelchair, seen lurking near victims' home before their deaths. Fear coiled within me, tightening with each passing night. The memory of her hunched figure became a recurring nightmare. I started avoiding late-night walks. Then, another story broke. A young schoolteacher found dead, her face disfigured beyond recognition. Again, eyewitness reports mentioned an old woman in a wheelchair spotted near the victim's house earlier. The connection was undeniable. But how? My mind reeled, searching for a terrifying explanation. The city was gripped by fear. The police remained tight-lipped, offering no leads. Then, a local war veteran, known for his unwavering courage, vanished without a trace. Eyewitnesses claimed they saw him arguing with an old woman in a wheelchair moments before he disappeared. Panic gnawed at me. Fear became my constant companion. I started locking every window and door. One evening, returning home from work, I turned into my street. And there she was, the old woman in the wheelchair, parked right in the middle of the road, blocking my way. Her head was swiveled towards me, a chilling smile playing on her wrinkled lips. I froze, the blood draining from my face. Her gaze held mine, a gaze filled with something I couldn't decipher. It was clear, any interaction with her would be disastrous. My foot pressed on the gas pedal, and I slammed the car into reverse. My heart hammered in my chest as I sped away, the image of her twisted smile imprinted on my mind. Driven by fear, I raced home, my tires screeching as I turned corners. Finally, I pulled into my driveway, jumping out of the car and slamming the door shut. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking as I unlocked the front door. Once inside, I bolted the door and frantically checked all the windows, ensuring they were locked tight. The silence of the house was deafening, broken only by the pounding of my own heart. When I lay down in bed, the events of the day finally began to recede into the background. I reached for the small bottle of tranquilizers on my nightstand, hoping to quell the anxiety that had been tormenting me all evening. The pills worked their magic, plunging me into sleep. A sudden noise shattered my slumber. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding wildly as I tried to identify the source of my unease. With trembling hands, I pushed back the curtain and looked out the window. And there, bathed in the unhealthy glow of the streetlights, I saw her, the hunched figure in the wheelchair, her eyes gleaming with an otherworldly power as she looked up at me. Fear paralyzed me as I watched her, unable to tear my gaze away. And then, displaying a terrifying inhuman agility, she leaped from the wheelchair and ran towards my house, her twisted body straightening as she moved with unnatural speed. Before I could react, the air filled with the sound of shattering glass on the ground floor of my house as she broke through the window. Panic engulfed me, and I fumbled for the phone as I dialed the emergency number. There was no time. The old woman was approaching, and I staggered towards the window, desperately trying to escape the horror unfolding in my own home. With one final surge of adrenaline, I climbed onto the windowsill and leaped into the night, the cold air rushing past me as I crashed into the bushes below. I landed in a heap of shrubbery, pain shooting through my body as I struggled to catch my breath. Soon after, the police arrived, their flashing lights piercing the darkness as they surveyed the scene. But despite their efforts, the mysterious old woman had disappeared without a trace, leaving only shattered glass, my broken leg, and a lingering sense of fear in her wake. It was only days later that the truth emerged. A disturbed individual, driven to madness by unseen forces, had been masquerading as the elderly woman, his mind consumed by a mania of terror and despair. And though he was eventually apprehended by the authorities, the memories of that fateful night would haunt me forever.